Honestly, we're just happy to see you at any of our 5 locations in Provo, South Jordan, Lehigh, Harriman, and American Fork. So come on in and enjoy some quality time and great food with family and friends. And we promise, we won't be pushing you for a tip.
Hey, this is Chris with JCW's, and we just want to say thank you, and especially to our loyal customers. We want you to know that at JCW's, your business is all the tip we need. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
A special announcement from Dave's Bernina in Provo and St. George.
Dave's Bernina has incredible deals on school machine buybacks, and they won't last long.
Buy a Bernina 1008 for $399, and the Bernina 350 is only $499. Save 50% or more with a 2-year guarantee and free classes on these previously loved machines.
It's time to buy a better machine and get a Bernina.
Save up to 20% off all new Bernina machines.
Take advantage of 20% off Bernina and Burnett presser feet.
1.99% 48-month financing.
The Bernina 735 is discounted and includes thousands of dollars of free accessories while supplies last. Come see the Bernina 990, the most amazing revolutionary sewing machine in the world.
Specially priced and receive over $2,000 worth of free Bernina accessories.
In business since 1960. Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
Dave'sBernina.com.
Many people worry they're not making the right investment choices inside their 401ks. Did you know that you might have a little-known opportunity to add some additional investment choices to your 401k and get the help and recommendations you've been looking for? This exciting feature is called a self-directed brokerage window. And the best part? The money still stays within your 401k. Learn how the trusted advisors at Capital Wealth may be able to expand your investment portfolio. To learn more, call or text the word VISIT to 801-877-9800 or go to CapitalWealth401k.com. Improving your 401k might mean the difference of retiring a few years earlier. Let's find out. Schedule your no-cost 15-minute consultation with the Capital Wealth team today. Call or text the word VISIT to 801-877-9800 or go to CapitalWealth401k.com. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor.
Jackson Hewitt wants you to save money on tax prep. We're saving money by having our intern rap in this commercial.
Don't stress, Jackson Hewitt's got expert tax prep, $149 or less. Yo, some tax guys lie about price. They got hidden fees, that ain't nice. Ain't nice. Don't ignore MC Kevin's rhyme, cause this deal's for a limited time. $149.
For tax prep that's $149 or less, hurry into Jackson Hewitt today.
No cap.
Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
Welcome to Staples.
I hear Staples prints it all for any business?
You bet, and we'll beat any print quote.
So if I had a pizza place...
Staples can print signs, menus, pizza boxes.
A landscaping business?
Oh, we can print yard signs, t-shirts, brochures.
How about a pizza/landscaping business? I'll call it Dough and Mo.
I like it.
Right now at Staples, get up to $250 off your print purchase. Ends 4/5, exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for offer details. Price match guarantee valid in store and staples.com/print. Visit staples.com/price match for details.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
We begin today's show with breaking news. The Trump administration is now taking their appeal for a rethinking of birthright citizenship to the highest court in the land. The Supreme Court has not said if they will or will not take the case. Welcome to Inside Sources. You're here with Rusty Cannon and Leah Murray. Leah, it's good to be back with you.
Always a pleasure, Rusty. I feel like it's been a minute.
It has been a
Maybe
bit of time.
because we're so exciting when we talk about politics that everyone's like, we need to calm down.
That's right. We need let the boil die down a little bit. But we're going to begin today's show with a few legal updates involving the Trump administration. So you are the expert here with what you do each and every day with your students up at Weber State. This, if I understand the news right, the lower courts have ruled against the Trump administration over the birthright citizenship issue. He wanted to take away birthright citizenship.
He wanted to take birthright citizenship that has to do with jus soli.
Yes, you mentioned that earlier, and I got it's jus soli.
Right, it's French.
So you put it all together and you say it really fast.
And you say it really
Jus
fast,
soli.
and people think you're really smart.
That's right.
Yeah, so the answer is the 14th Amendment says if all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. So that was absolutely done because the concern was southern states would say, all right, fine, maybe they're not enslaved people anymore, but we're never going to make them citizens. So you've got the Congress, Republicans in the Congress at that time saying, no, if you were born here, you are a citizen. About 30 years later, in 1898, the question gets raised. Did you mean that only for enslaved people, formerly enslaved people, or did you mean every person who is born here on the soil of the United States gets to be a citizen? And in a case, U.S. v. Wong Kim Ark in 1898, the Supreme Court solidified the principle, and you can tease me again, of jus soli.
Yes.
So jus soli means by the soil, right of the soil. Citizenship is determined by where the place of your birth, where you are born. So, Rusty, like most of the Western Hemisphere has jus soli, most of us use by the soil. The other way of doing this is by the blood, jus sanguine, and that is most of Europe uses by the blood. So that means you can only be a citizen that's a birthright if your parents are citizens. So it's not that President Trump wants to make everybody have to naturalize, right? So it wasn't that he was taking away birthright citizenship writ large.
No, it'd be going forward.
Right. It would, but also it would just be for the jus soli part of it. So if I had a child or you had a child, we as citizens, those children would have birthright citizenship. The question would be if someone was here visiting or was here on an undocumented status, those people's children would not be considered citizens of the United States.
Okay, so I see an exception in the U.S. v. Wong Kim Ark case in 1898. They said this does not apply to children of diplomats and foreign soldiers and certain sovereign tribal members. But so foreign diplomats, as you might know, their children do not get this because their parents, the diplomats, are immune from our laws, and therefore they don't get this. So
they are not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, right?
Which
so
gets
that clause,
me to my point, or my question is, some think the original intent of the 14th, the phrase that is now being debated, or will be debated, is the phrase subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Some believe that was meant to grant citizenship only to freed slaves and legal residents, not to individuals who enter the country unlawfully. So that, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Leah, is what many in this modern form of this argument are saying, right? They believe that the interpretation of that phrase was wrong.
They believe that the U.S. v. Wong Kim Ark, the Supreme Court asserting jus soli, was the wrong way to think about subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
Okay.
Right? But again, it's kind of like this. When we ask what is the law, the branch of government that decides in the United States what the law means is the judicial branch. So, but they change their mind. Does that make sense? They do change their mind. So I think it's fine to have the argument about it, but I'd be a little, cautious of saying that whoever thinks it should be interpreted where jus soli is not the right principle, I'm not sure that that's the better read of an original intent of the 14th Amendment.
Got it.
Meaning
Okay.
I do think it is open to interpretation what subject to the jurisdiction thereof means. And I think when the Supreme Court heard it the first time in 1898, they were aware of that, right? And this is like over 130 years almost of case law. So this is a very long precedent to be overturning if President Trump gets his way.
Is it okay if we overturn some precedents no matter how long they've been in place?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I don't think the law is the law because of tradition.
Correct.
But then I'm not conservative.
Okay, that's right. I am. And so, you have decisions like Dred Scott, obviously terrible decisions that thankfully were overturned. And this is something that I think there's also the allegiance argument that some argue that undocumented immigrants, by entering illegally, don't owe full allegiance to the laws here in the U.S., and so their children should not qualify for citizenship. But there's also policy concerns, right? Some worrying about what we call birth tourism, where get over here and then the birth happens and you've accomplished your goal. But this will be a very, very interesting argument. If the Supreme Court takes it, they have to say we'll take it.
Right. So far, they haven't.
Yeah.
Right.
But this was just announced today, so I assume.
Right, that he's asking. So right now, the courts have said, you're wrong. We are going to uphold that 1898 case precedent, right? We are not going to question that.
Yeah.
If we are looking for an overturning of that, right, it looks like it's going to have to be the Supreme Court that does it.
Got it. Okay, so now go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, I just kind of want to push back and say, but how do I say? The children aren't the people who committed the crime. Does that make sense?
Meaning coming in unlawfully?
Yeah. So if someone comes in unlawfully, those children are, probably not sinners, right? A little bit. So just hear me out. And then I also kind of want to say, I'm pushing back on the idea of a birth tourist.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get here to have their children because we're the best country on the planet. And my goodness, where I want my children to live is in America.
True.
So I kind of, one of the ways that I think about this when I talk to my students is reason why so many people want to come here. The reason why we have border crises when other countries don't is because when you are the city on the hill, it is the case that everyone wants to be here, wants to have their children raised here. You know what I mean? So I don't think like a mom is coming to America to get like some policy privileges. I think she's thinking, man, like the streets are paved in gold in the United States, and I want my child to grow up there, and I think like that's okay.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. I would hope that everybody wants to come to America. I could see why. I mean, the nation was founded on immigrants in building the country. That's, I don't think, what one side of the argument would say. I think it's a matter of interpretation of that phrase, and what if that determination was wrong. This is a very controversial issue, and I was a little surprised that the president did this as one of his early moves, so to speak, and then now is moving it up to the Supreme Court. However, it might as well get to the Supreme Court, and let's just get this figured out.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Because, by the way, I want to be clear, I think, and you might just agree with me or disagree with me if you want to. I feel like in Republican circles, it's been true for a while.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think you were finding when we were chatting about this in pre-show, there was a case in the 1980s, right? So someone had already kind of questioned this concept of jus soli, and I think I saw data in Pew going back as far as 2015 where Republicans were like, no, it shouldn't be by the soil, right? It should only be by the blood. So this is not necessarily a Trump push. I think sometimes people talk about it. It's President Trump who's doing this. No, it's a Republican Party policy position, right?
Yeah, this has been argued for quite some time. And I think some might look to that point on diplomats, right? If we don't give diplomats this privilege because they're not subject to the laws of the land, that does, I think, put a chink in the armor of the argument of not overturning it, of, well, wait a minute. If the diplomats here, they're not subject to the laws, so therefore their kids do not get this. What about those that some would feel are in the country illegally and therefore not subject to the jurisdiction thereof? So I can see the argument on both sides. I'm really curious to see if the Supreme Court takes it up. I kind of hope they do because this needs some final resolution, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
And it'd be fascinating to watch how they deal with it.
So another thing that President Trump has been doing is firing all the people, right? So another case that came up, I think today or yesterday, we've got one of the first major firings conducted by the Trump administration. You might remember, Rusty, is all of the probationary workers across the agencies.
Yeah.
This morning, so it was today, a federal judge in California said the administration had set up a, quote, sham operation that conducted the firings and that those firings were therefore not legal, and that federal judge ruled that the administration must rehire the employees at the Departments of Veteran Affairs, Agriculture, Defense, Energy, Interior, and the Treasury. So, man, it's been a fun 100 days, right? Like, this is a fun 100 days with President Trump. But right here, we've got another case. So we've got, we're going to get rid of birthright citizenship if we can, and we're going to make it that, how do I say, people who weren't by statutory authority can fire all the people, and the judge right now is saying, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, and it was, the way that I'm reading it, it is procedural. I mean, he said, quote, it's a sad day when our government would fire some good employee and say it was based on performance when they know good and well that's a lie. It was a sham in order to try to avoid statutory requirements. But before handing the ruling down, he was the judge, Judge Alsup is his name, was careful to clarify with lawyers representing the unions that the reduction in force orders now being issued at several agents are still legal and can go forward. I think his issue was with the probationary employees in the way that it was done. To me, I'm just interpreting this quickly on the fly. I think he's saying too fast. You did it wrong. You blew it. You tried to get around the rules, and I'm not going to have it.
Right. So it's interesting. So what we learned yesterday, right, is that half of the Department of Education was fired. Maybe that was 2 days ago. My goodness, there's just so much
yesterday.
news. Was it
Yeah.
yesterday? So those people don't get rehired. Right. It's just the agencies that I read at the top at the beginning of this conversation. So it's interesting because the judge, and we're both looking at the same article out of the New York Times, if Congress says you can have an agency do the reduction in force, and if it's done correctly under the law, then you can.
Yeah.
So does that mean what he needs is for Congress to pass a statute that makes Elon Musk an employee? What do you think? Flesh that out for me.
Well, I think according to the quote, he said Congress itself has said you can have an agency that can do a reduction in force if it's done correctly under the law. So I believe he is saying that, yes, an agency, if they do it correctly, a reduction in force is perfectly fine. And if you go through the regular process, I think where they tripped up, the Trump administration, it appears, is just being too fast and loose on this with the probationary employees. Because absent from this article, I guess aside from this article, was the news. Yeah, I think it was yesterday. I'm totally losing track of time on the Department of Education. It was kind of quiet about that. Or am I just wrong to where I didn't hear a lot of, weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth of that? It was like, they laid off half of the DOE.
Yeah, 50%.
And it's like, that's a ton of people. And then now, you look at news and all, and what we're talking about, it's kind of, okay, that happened yesterday.
Do you think the answer is because so much is happening?
Possibly.
Okay.
Possibly. I think it's interesting to look at the DOE. I keep saying that, the Department of Education, because it's interesting. I was talking with someone last week who's in the education world, and we were talking about this subject. And I asked the question, does the Federal Department of Education educate a single kid? And in this, I'm not going to call them out, but they said no. They don't teach a single kid. If you, as the president has said, you take this money and give it back to the states, I don't see how that's not beneficial.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a program or two that somehow it funds a program that's important and that kind of thing, that where money that's needed, that can be rectified. But again, moving the money down to the states and getting rid of the bureaucracy in D.C. I don't see how this is a bad idea.
Yeah, I legit think the Department of Education's the lowest hanging fruit. And we've talked about that on this show, right? Yeah. The answer is nobody really wanted that agency when it got created in the late 1970s. And we've been arguing about it ever since. So that's why I think probably we're not getting, you might be right. It's not about that we're all a little exhausted. It's about that agency just doesn't have the same kind of, resonance as it maybe the Department of Veteran Affairs does.
Yeah.
Or the Department of the Interior does.
Yeah. So lots going on. Coming up in the second hour, we're going to talk about Russian President Putin saying he agrees with principles behind a ceasefire in Ukraine. And we're also going to talk to Congressman Mike Kennedy about some exciting stuff in Utah. That's coming up.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station. Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story this hour. The FBI in Salt Lake is helping ICE arrest illegal immigrants.
When we're enforcing other laws against gangs or drug interdictions, and we frequently come across illegal immigrants in those actions.
Assistant Special Agent in Charge Reese Williams says the Salt Lake office of the FBI has arrested nearly 30 illegal immigrants who are involved in selling or transporting illegal narcotics. Our top national story this hour. A judge has ordered several federal agencies to rehire the probationary employees that they let go. The judge found that the administration's claims that those firings were based on performance were false and that the administration overstepped their power in this instance.
This is about process, the judge said, not about the power of the presidency, the executive branch, to do firings. And he acknowledged quite plainly that other justifications, other reduction in force programs, as they're called, to shrink the size of the federal government are entirely legal as long as they follow the proper procedure.
That is ABC's Devin Dwyer. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow at the end of the day down 578 points, sitting at 40,773. S&P 500 down by 84. The NASDAQ, the biggest loser, down 2%, down 356 points. Wet weather set to continue, maybe even some snow. We'll check the forecast up next. KSL News Time, 2:01.
You still thinking job change in the new year? Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy. IT? Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI. That's what I did. Really? How? Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up. Sweet. Are classes online or on campus? Both. Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students.
What if your limited inventory had unlimited potential? What if your biggest risk was not taking one? What if you could make every move matter? Bank of America's Business Solutions can help bring your biggest what-ifs within reach. Find out how our digital tools, cutting-edge insights, and trusted expertise can work for your business. What would you like the power to do? Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
Do you need new windows? Look, all glass pretty much looks the same to the naked eye, but if your windows aren't triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane glass, the cold is seeping in. You need to call Advanced Window Products. They use the highest quality glass and premium vinyl to create state-of-the-art windows and frames, and for 38 years, they build those frames right here in Utah. Custom crafted for Utah's climate. The best windows you can buy at prices 30 and 40% less than what the big companies charge because they cut out the middleman. They're the factory. They even give you a lifetime warranty, and right now as we head into spring, save an extra $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Custom windows that'll give your house a fresh new look and save you money on your heating and air conditioning. Advanced Windows offers 60-month 0% financing, even buy now, pay later, and an extra $2,500 off. Call for a quote. 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Progressive knows when you're in your RV, you're already on vacation. That's when you become Vacation You, who just camped where there's absolutely no shade. Even though regular you burns easily. In fact, Vacation You burns too, but is too stubborn to admit it, which is why regular you gets in trouble at the dermatologist, because Vacation You doesn't do doctors. So bundle your RV with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-859-6688. 800-859-6688. 800-859-6688.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's low-rate auto loans. Ricky Meese, any wet roads causing problems?
A lot of wet roads out there, and we have definitely had issues. Our latest is a crash in Utah County, northbound I-15 at the Lehigh Main Street on-ramp. It's blocking the right lanes of the top of the ramp and on the main flow of northbound I-15 and causing some delays. Don't miss the Rocky Mountain Gun Show Saturday and Sunday, March 15th and 16th at the Mountain America Expo Center. Get 500 rounds of 9mm ammo for just $85. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Still a good chance of showers across the Wasatch Front throughout the day. Today's high only 55. Tomorrow, that temperature, the high temperature dropping at least 10 degrees. We're looking at low 40s for the next couple of days. Right now, 50 degrees. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
New developments in the potential for a ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia. Today, in a press conference, Russian President Vladimir Putin said he agrees in principle with a U.S.-backed proposal for a 30-day ceasefire with Ukraine. So, ABC's James Longman is in central Ukraine talking about it.
Putin wants a permanent plan which would see him keep some 20% of Ukraine that he is currently occupying. But Donald Trump has been threatening sanctions if he doesn't agree. He said that if Vladimir Putin doesn't agree to this plan, that he could make some decisions which would be financially devastating for Russia. But he said, I don't want to do that because I want to get peace.
This week, following talks with the United States and Saudi Arabia, Ukraine said it was ready to agree to a ceasefire. Russia really didn't immediately agree, Rusty, right? Didn't come in saying yes. And I wonder a little bit, you're here with Leah Murray alongside Rusty Cannon, did President Trump saying, you know, if you don't behave, I will make it punishing for you economically, does that bring Putin to the table?
Well, I think that's the question, is what kind of leverage does either side have, and how deep would these sanctions hurt Russia? If they would be, deep and hurtful, I think that's the leverage that the president has over Putin. We'll have to find out. This is a fascinating process to watch play out. The question is what now? Okay, let's say you agree in principle. Now you get into the details, and so Longman from ABC also talked about some of the details they're going to have to work out.
Vladimir Putin seems pretty committed to keep fighting. He's been down in the Kursk region visiting troops there. Russian troops have been pushing the Ukrainians out of that area that they had hoped to hold on to keep as part of a negotiation leverage in any future negotiation. And on that visit, we saw Vladimir Putin wearing military uniform. The first time we've seen that since the Russians invaded.
So a little bit Putin taking a page, I think, out of Zelensky's playbook, right? Which is go be with the troops, be wearing the uniform that they wear. Do you think that's an indicator that he's trying to shore up support, right?
You know, I think it possibly could. The question now getting into the details, there's been land push, on both sides, meaning that certain areas that have been taken or retaken, all of that's now going to become very acute, meaning, well, hold on a second. We've gotten to here. We're not backing out of there. Oh, wait, you're not backing. This could just go sideways very, very fast. And so lots of details they need to work out. For instance, the question is, okay, as we now withdraw from the front lines, what are the rules around that? I mean, things like that could break down these talks so quickly. It's going to be really, really interesting. I want to take the glass half full approach on this, that him saying, hey, I agree with this in principle is a very, very good sign. If it is, that this could be a significant win for everybody if this can really follow through. And think about where we were. How many weeks ago was it? Just a week or two ago when they were when Zelensky was at the White House and all broke down? Was that 1 week or 2 weeks ago?
I think it was last Friday.
Yeah, it was just, I can't believe how fast time flies. You thought, okay, now we are just in a world of hurt where nobody ever heals it. Now, short time later, they've gone to Saudi Arabia, gotten Ukraine to agree in principle on a 30-day ceasefire. Now you have Russia saying, okay, I agree in principle. I would have never guessed we would be here 2 weeks later. I'm shocked, actually.
So, but a little bit, my goodness, and I don't mean to disagree with your what'd you say? Glass half full. Your glass half full.
Bring the negativity.
Yeah, let me bring in some negativity. I'm going to tell you what, Russia invaded, Rusty.
Yeah.
And then the answer is they get to keep all the territory from their invasion.
Well, I don't know if that's the answer. That's what either side's going to push for.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I see Ukraine doing is being like, we got to hold firm because we're not ever going to push them fully out of our country. And I appreciate that we want to end the war. I appreciate that that's what we want to have happening, that we want a permanent ceasefire. But I really don't appreciate, it feels like what we are rewarding is if you invade a sovereign nation and then you pitch a little fit about it, right? Then the United States is going to come in and say you can keep what you got when you invaded. I am not persuaded, right, that protects Ukraine long term. Yeah. I just kind of want to reiterate, when the Berlin Wall fell down, the United States told Ukraine to disarm and promised that we would make sure they were secure. We would protect them from Russia forever. Yeah. And here we are 30 years later, and we're not. We're letting Russia take 20% maybe. Like one of the things I was looking at was 20% of Ukrainian territory. And if I am Putin, what is in any way going to stop me from going, okay, this is a permanent ceasefire until the next time I have an itch, right? And then I'm going to come invading in. So I'm with you. I'm really happy that we're having conversations around peace, but I am very skeptical how do I say, of Russian President Vladimir Putin as a good faith actor in these conversations.
I think you have to assume he will not be a good faith actor. Right. And that's where I think the leverage. So the question is what kind of leverage does Trump have over him? And I don't know the details, but if sanctions are severe enough, and he is fearful of those, well, that's the leverage. That's what you have. Otherwise, there's no motivation. Putin can just say, no, forget it, and they keep fighting. The problem, I think, is that what is the alternative? The alternative is that this just continues, and it continues. There's really no end in sight as far as anybody can tell. It's basically a stalemate. Many deaths, a lot of destruction, and that will continue unless there's peace. Or you throw a ton of money and a ton of lives in fighting this out and to try to get a win from one side or the other. And just I think, as far as I understand what President Trump is trying to do, is, listen, I want the bullets to stop flying. I want people to stop dying. I just want peace. He is taking a lot of heat for engaging on both sides, which I think is justified because, Putin's terrible. It's a goal that I think is a pretty lofty goal of what he's doing. I don't know if it happens. I really don't. But this is a pretty positive sign to say at least they are agreeing in principle. Let's work out the details.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. You know me, and I'm always going to go back to history. But what you just said, it's like peace at any cost, right? Is what happened. I don't know, 90 years ago when we watched Germany decide that every little part of Europe belonged to them. And you're not wrong. Do I want the bullets to stop flying? Absolutely. Do I ever want an American military member to be dying in this engagement? Absolutely not. But I do think 30 years ago we promised. And I do kind of worry about our credibility on the world stage.
Very fair.
So all of that's in my head when I'm kind of watching this.
So here's some of the details. We don't know a lot of details. One that we're reading now, the agreement would temporarily freeze more than 1,800 miles of front lines in their current position, where Russian forces appear to hold the upper hand. The White House has appeared eager for a Kremlin endorsement on this, and Trump's national security advisor, Mike Waltz, discussed the proposal with his Russian counterpart on Wednesday, yesterday. And the special envoy, Steve Witkoff, he's going to Moscow later this week. And now Putin has consistently stated that a temporary ceasefire would be unacceptable to Moscow. But the Kremlin spokesman yesterday said only that we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. We're going to take a look at this proposal and review the joint statement. So they're just saying, in principle, we understand. We're going to take a look at this.
No, and I love here, you've got President Trump saying, well, the ball is a little bit in Russia's court, and if they don't abide, here comes the punishment.
Yeah.
And I do feel better about that, because I want to just tell you, Rusty, when the whole thing fell apart with Zelensky in the White House, I thought, oh my gosh, so what are we doing? Like, we're now pro-Russia. But now, to be fair, with some distance from that, the answer is we're not. We're pro-ending the war.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're not rewarding a really bad person.
Yeah, well, I think that would be what everybody would want. You would hope that's what everyone wants. They should not be rewarded for that. The problem still is, what is the alternative? If territories have been gained or lost and we're at a stalemate, you have two choices. Throw a ton of money and lives into trying to push it one way or the other, or you try to get it to end.
Yeah.
And I think those are two unfortunate alternatives. The best alternative is like, no, give all that land back and just say, okay, we're done. That's not going to happen. So we have to figure a way around it.
Next up, Rusty, on Inside Sources, 200% tariffs on stuff from the European Union. It's President Trump's latest threat. We'll get into it after the break.
Rebates and tax incentives sound great, but they can be a little bit of a headache when it comes time to claim them. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and we try and make it as easy as possible for you to claim those rebates. We even have a rebate support specialist on our team to answer your questions and help you get every dollar your new furnace and air conditioner qualify for. You might not realize it, but right now, local utilities are offering over $2,400 in rebates, and there's another $3,200 available in federal tax incentives. That's over $5,600 in additional savings for qualifying heating and cooling upgrades. When you couple those rebates and incentives with Any Hour Services free furnace sale that's going on right now, I mean, even if you've just been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner, it makes a lot of sense to schedule a free estimate and learn more. One of our HVAC supervisors can come to your home and explain everything. Call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7400. Google Any Hour Services or schedule a free estimate online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
When should you file for Social Security to get the most out of your benefits? Get the answer in a free report, your guide to filing for Social Security in 2025 and beyond. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000 and have not filed for Social Security, Get your free report now by calling 801-251-1046. 801-251-1046. There's more to maximizing Social Security than filing for your benefits early or late. This free report details all of the different things you must consider that could help you get the most net income from Social Security. Wring every nickel out of your benefits that are rightfully yours. Get your free report now by calling 801-251-1046. That's 801-251-1046.
Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
Peyton was a very kind and giving person. At 15 years old, he sustained life-threatening injuries from a motorcycle accident that took his life. His family felt like Peyton would want to save others and made the decision to donate his organs. Because of their generosity, his organs saved a 2-year-old girl, a teenage boy, and others that were desperate in need of life-saving organs. Go to DonorConnect.life and read about what it takes to become a donor. Did you know many people think that they're too old or not in good enough health to be a donor? Anyone can be a donor. If you were told that it could save the life for someone close to you, or even a stranger, would you donate? Finding out more on why you should become a donor is easy. DonorConnect.life can walk you through the process and what it takes to simply sign up. Check yes to become a donor when you renew your driver's license. Give hope. Heal life. DonorConnect.life.
Things are just better when you switch to Cricket. The sun shines a little brighter. Happy music starts randomly playing. Best of all, you can get iPhone 13 for just $29.99. With the ultra-bright Super Retina display and up to 19 hours of video playback, all on Cricket's super-fast 5G network. See? Isn't that better? Smile, you're on Cricket.
Requires new account imported on $60 plan. First service charge taxed with sale. $25 activation fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. See store for details.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to the A to Z savings event at AutoZone.
Yeah, happy to be here. Can I get some rotors?
Would you like brake pads with that?
How much are the brake pads?
Free with the rotors.
Free. Really?
Really, free.
Okay, I also need some oil.
Would you like an oil filter with that?
Yeah, how much is that?
Free with 5 quarts of oil.
Free? Really?
Really, free. It's part of the A to Z savings event.
You might as well call it A to free.
At AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host Rusty Cannon here with Leah Murray. The back and forth on tariffs continues today. President Trump says he will impose a 200% tariff on all wine, champagne, and alcohol coming in from France and other EU countries. He says the only way he won't do this is if the European Union lifts the tariffs as they put in place on the U.S. in response to the president's tariffs that he put in place this week on steel and aluminum imports. Are you dizzy yet, Leah Murray?
Are you dizzy?
I'm getting dizzy, and I'm also getting irritated.
So pause. I'm just going to say this. There being a 200% tariff on wine, champagne, and alcohol maybe doesn't affect you that much.
No, it won't affect me. But boy, it will affect a ton of people. Now, I wanted to use a soundbite from long ago to set up what I wanted to say in this segment.
You know I love history. Bring it.
All right, we're going to bring some history. This is from 1982 from a radio address that President Reagan spoke about tariffs and how he didn't really like the idea of them.
We're in the same boat with our trading partners. If one partner shoots a hole in the boat, does it make sense for the other one to shoot another hole in the boat? Some say yes and call that getting tough. Well, I call it stupid. We shouldn't be shooting holes. We should be working together to plug them up. We must strengthen the boat of free markets and fair trade so it can lead the world to economic recovery and greater political stability.
President Reagan, as always, I love that guy.
I want you to color me just a little bit surprised that I'm in a Venn diagram with President Reagan, right?
What a perfect way to put it. If you and I are in a boat together, as an analogy, and I shoot a hole in the boat, and you go, "Oh yeah, well I'm going to shoot one too, just to get back at me." That's dumb.
Yeah,
and
we
here
all
we are.
drown.
He is now firing another bullet into the boat. The market continues to react down. The Dow down another 537 points today. I wonder, and this is coming from frustration from somebody who's voted for the guy 3 times now. Why are you going down this road? I'm asking you, Leah Murray. Why is President Trump going down this road with tariffs?
Actually, I appreciate you want me to speak for the president,
I
but
would
I'm
like
going
you
to tell
to.
you what. I'm going to let him answer. While greeting Ireland's leader at the White House yesterday, this is what he had to say.
They have not been fair. They sue our companies and win massive amounts of money. They sued Apple, won $17 billion, and they use that for other reasons, I guess, or to run the European Union.
So that's his answer. I'm going to shoot a hole in the boat. Now, what did President Reagan say? And I'm going to call it strengthening our position.
The getting tough.
That's
like,
right.
Like,
I'm
going to get tough. And I think another quote from him today is that I'm not going to back down on tariffs. This is another question I think we should ask each other. How long does he get to do this?
Well, I think it's gone, don't you think?
I'm wondering how short the fuse is with the American people. My fuse is burnt a long time ago on this. I never understood the thinking behind tariffs.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I don't.
I'm a capitalist, so a little bit I'm opposed to any kind of protectionist policy. I think the argument is supposed to be I would like to impose tariffs so that I'm protecting American jobs or American goods.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me by having a 200% tariff on champagne what jobs or goods in the United States is being protected by that. So now it just kind of feels like it's not even about, right? Like if he were making the argument, I'm going to put tariffs on steel because I'm trying to promote American steel. I still am enough of a capitalist that I disagree with him, but I guess I'm going to say, right, like I feel like that's an okay argument. But right now we've got a poll yesterday saying 51% approve of his work on immigration, 56% disapproves of his handling of the economy. Yeah. So to answer your question, how much leeway does he have? I'm thinking he's already, how do I say, off the cliff. Does that, like we have passed the line, it's behind him. The American people are not with him. He is just basically gutting the economy right now.
So let me get into details as an example with this alcohol argument with Europe. I think it should be notable that the U.S. is a net importer of alcoholic beverages. So the imports that we bring in, according to data, are 4 times larger from Europe than what we export, meaning we're on the wrong side of the argument. We're saying we're going to tariff 4 times the amount of alcohol that comes into our markets, while we only send out 1/4 of that amount to Europe. Like this is a losing equation. And so as far as being tough, this makes no sense to me specifically on this issue. Aside from everything else on all the other tariffs, I just don't get why the president has decided to take this issue and just drive the car completely into the ditch on the side of the road.
Right. So here we've got Americans rating Trump. So do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling? The biggest, worst one, Rusty, is tariffs. 61% of Americans disapproving of him and the way that he's managing tariffs.
Yeah.
I mean, what's kind of funny, I want to just tell you as a political science professor, I love President Trump because he does all this stuff with tariffs, and my students 20 years ago wouldn't have known what a tariff was, but now everyone understands it, so I can teach foreign policy and economic policy, and we're all on the same page. I wonder when he starts to pay attention.
You know,
Does
that's
that right?
good,
Like, yeah, go.
Yeah, that's a good question. So to argue out both sides of my mouth, we mentioned this the other day on the air. There are plenty of tariffs on the other side of the equation. As an example, when he was fighting with Canada just the other day, I mean, it's somebody new every day, over tariffs, it was noted, that, and I didn't know this, that there's a quota of U.S. dairy products into Canada of like 2 or 3% of their market. If we go over that quota amount of somewhere around 2 or 3%, the tariff that they slap on U.S. eggs and butter was like 300%. I had no idea. 300%. And so those numbers can get quite large. And so I see his point when he sometimes says, listen, they've been ripping us off. It would be nice if he'd give some specifics. I found that out from a different source. But it does go both ways. And I think if you explain that a little bit more, maybe people would be able to swallow this pill. However, what they do see blasted in front of them now, not just on TVs, but now on their phones whenever they want to look at it, their 401k down, 10, 15% for the year. Those types of things tend to burn out pretty quickly with the American people. And I just wonder when if he ever reverses course on this.
And maybe he should listen to the little clip you just played from Ronald Reagan. So you're not right, because what was the point? If I shoot a hole in the boat, so I'm Canada and I'm doing 200% on butter or whatever. The reasonable response is not to shoot another bigger hole in the boat.
Oh, I'm shooting a 300% hole in the boat.
That's insane. So what we need to do is be reasonable. Yeah. We are America. We are a global economic leader, and we should say, Canada, what we want you to do is not do that tariff.
Yeah.
Right? Because basically what's happening, I think this was kind of interesting from CNN, an article, that the U.S. posts this tariff on steel, so the European government posts tariffs immediately, so then we respond on wine, champagne, and alcoholic products, and now we are in a trade war where we are all shooting as many holes into the bottom of our boat as we possibly can. I want you to remember the last Great Depression we had was triggered by major tariffs. Period.
You're talking about in the late 1920s or 1930s.
Yeah, right. When you destroy the economy, one of the first ways you do it is with a tariff war. It is a bad idea. Never mind that it is not capitalist, right? Mm-hmm. This is not how this should go. And the United States should be leading out. Rusty Cannon, I'm done.
So the president still makes the argument of, we're going to be so wealthy. We're bringing in all these hundreds of billions of dollars. The quote actually from Caroline Leavitt, his press secretary, yesterday, the president wants the American people to have so much more money in their pockets that they don't know what to do with it. That's the goal of this administration, through tariffs, through tax cuts, through deregulation. So let me pause right there. Through tariffs.
This
tariff doesn't give you or I another single dime. And
Correct.
When he talks about, this money piling up, it's piling up for the government. The government only shows a habit of spending it. They have never shown a habit of reducing taxes or reducing debt. You're just going to blow that money. And so I don't believe the fact that somehow piling up money with tariffs somehow benefits you and me. I don't see the direct access unless you're literally going to turn that money and send it to us. But that's not going to happen, obviously. I just don't get the economics of it. Maybe I'm just uneducated enough on the subject. But as you mentioned, historically, I have never, in the research I've done recently, never found an example where this tariff war ever works.
Yeah, we've seen this film before.
Yeah.
It does not end well.
Yeah.
And the answer is tariffs are taxes, Rusty. They are taxes. So that you cannot in the same breath say, I'm going to increase tariffs and do tax cuts. Mm-hmm. That's not how that works.
Well, now, keep in mind, from a protectionist or a more of a USA first perspective, they would push back on that of saying, hey, no, listen, we need to protect American jobs. We need to protect American manufacturing. I'm all on board for that. That is awesome. If we have it, there are so many widgets, so many chips, so many things that we don't make here. Right. And we never are going to make here. Nuts and bolts and things we need to make our products that we have to get it from somewhere else. So, anyway, all right, I've beat on that one pretty hard. So we'll move. Coming up on Inside Sources, our conversation with U.S. Representative Mike Kennedy on legislation dealing with Utah's public lands. Stay with us.
Good afternoon. It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story this hour. It is breaking news. We are hearing that police have arrested a 19-year-old for allegedly killing another teenager in West Jordan on Sunday. Police say Tayden Huntsman admitted to shooting 19-year-old Hugo Lucero after they got into a fight at a house party. Huntsman could now face several felony charges, including aggravated murder. We now know the identity of a man killed in a fire earlier this week in Milford. Beaver County firefighters say Rodney Rose and his two dogs died when his home caught fire. Investigators are still trying to find the cause of that fire. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A volcano in Alaska is showing signs that it could erupt soon. ABC's Alex Stone reports.
There are 53 volcanoes in Alaska that have been active in the last 250 years, including Mount Spur. It towers over 11,000 feet, about 80 miles northwest of Anchorage. And now there are signs it could be getting ready to blow, maybe in the next couple of weeks or a few months. Alaska's Volcano Observatory says Mount Spur is emitting significantly elevated amounts of volcanic gas, and that if it's going to erupt, they expect to see earthquakes, more gas, and surface heating before it blows. Alex Stone, EBC News.
Financial markets losing more ground after more threats of tariffs. The Dow down by 578 points, about 1.5%, sitting at 40,773. S&P closing down 84 points, and the NASDAQ closing down by 356 points. A little bit drier tomorrow, but definitely not warmer. An update of the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time, 2:32.
Hi, this is Kathy.
And Jason from Window World.
Jason, other window companies are offering their big specials again. What's our special?
Our special is the same low price every day for every customer all year round.
Wow, Window World is different.
We don't jack up the price to offer a phony discount like other companies.
No pressure, no games. Hey, call Window World 801-281-8111.
Or check windowworldutah.com.
Window World, simply the best for
And as Doug always said,
that's no baloney.
It's hard to believe, but summer's right around the corner. Make sure your home stays cool with a brand new air conditioner and get a free furnace for next winter. That's right. When you purchase the premium air conditioner or heat pump from Whipple Service Champions, you'll get a brand new furnace absolutely free. You just pay for the labor to install. This deal won't last long. Schedule your free estimate today. Book online at whipplethataway.com. whipplethataway.com.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sinks overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Jackson Hewitt wants you to save money on tax prep. We're saving money by having our intern rap in this commercial.
Don't stress, Jackson Hewitt's got expert tax prep, $149 or less. Yo, some tax guys lie about price. They got hidden fees, that ain't nice. Ain't nice. Don't ignore MC Kevin's rhyme, cause this deal's for a limited time. $149.
For tax prep that's $149 or less, hurry into Jackson Hewitt today.
No cap.
Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
A special announcement from Dave's Bernina in Provo and St. George.
Dave's Bernina has incredible deals on school machine buybacks, and they won't last long.
Buy a Bernina 1008 for $399, and the Bernina 350 is only $499. Save 50% and more with a 2-year guarantee and free classes on these previously loved machines.
It's time to buy a better machine and get a Bernina.
Save up to 20% off all new Bernina machines.
Take advantage of 20% off Bernina and Burnett presser feet.
1.99% 48-month financing.
The Bernina 735 is discounted and includes thousands of dollars of free accessories while supplies last. Come see the Bernina 990, the most amazing revolutionary sewing machine in the world.
Specially priced and receive over $2,000 worth of free Bernina accessories.
In business since 1960. Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
Dave'sBernina.com.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's low-rate auto loans. The latest with Ricky Meese.
Right now, I'm looking at a live shot where UHP has stopped all traffic on northbound I-15 at about 90th South. Usually, they do something like this in order to clear the roadway of possible debris or an accident. Once they get that taken care of, then they'll let traffic move again. We have plows out in Little Cottonwood Canyon, but restrictions remain in place for both Big and Little. And then the crash in the cleanup stages northbound I-15 near Lehigh Main Street, still blocking a right shoulder and causing some backups. Common Spirit hospitals, clinics, and caregivers, all connected to advanced health care in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with Human Kindness is here. Hello, Human Kindness. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Showers decreasing into tomorrow, but the temperature also dropping. Tomorrow's high only in the low 40s, and it looks like a 60% chance of showers returns on Saturday. It's a bit of rain in 48 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm Maria Shaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Utah's newest congressman has been in office for just under 3 months, so we wanted to check in with him on how things are going. Congressional District Utah 3, Representative Mike Kennedy is sponsoring legislation with Senators Mike Lee and John Curtis that would block Wall Street control of Utah's public lands. We spoke with the good representative just before coming on air today to get his takes on the bill and his take on the federal budget and how it's going back in Washington. Let's listen. And we've got with us Representative Mike Kennedy to have a conversation. Representative, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Leah.
So the question that I have for you is about this bill banning natural assets, or Bill NACs. Maybe I'm not even sure I know what it is. So why don't you tell me and our listeners what all you're trying to accomplish with this bill?
Environmental activists were intent on using Wall Street and investor modalities to actually ban us from using our water, our land, in the ways that we want to in the West. And so actually Marlo Oaks, our state treasurer, brought this to our attention, I think it was about 2.5, 3 years ago, that this was happening, and using the power of the Wall Street model of investment is that these people would buy up rights to water as well as land and lock it up forever so that nobody could use it. So this bill bans that practice. It's something that already that's been, there was a rule that was promoted that has been taken off the agenda, but this is going to ban it in our code so that nobody can do that ever again.
So you're teaming up with Senator Lee and Senator Curtis on this, if I read right. Is this going to start in the House or the Senate?
It's going to do both. Actually, Rusty, you're sophisticated and know how this process works, but you kind of have to run parallel systems, different from what I've done for 10 years in the state legislature, where it has to make it through the House before it gets to the Senate, as they're doing parallel. So I'm honored to have Senator Lee and Senator Curtis as part of this as well. Of course, Senator Curtis being the chair of the Natural Resources on the Senate side is outstanding support for this. But it's an important bill for our long-term future.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to pivot off of that particular bill, but my goodness, please bring us right back if you want to. I was wondering just about how the transition's been for you. So you moving from the state legislature over to the federal government. I don't know. I feel like I want to ask you, did they give you a nice office? Do you have a great parking spot? But also, like, Representative,
I've
how's
been
it
to
going?
the office. They're not big.
They're not good?
No,
okay.
The House side.
No, it's a freshman office, but honestly, it's, as they say, it's better than my opponent's office, which is no office in Washington, D.C. So we're honored to be there and serve the people. I'll tell you, Leah, it's been really interesting. So to kind of expand on that is I'm having to sell my practice. I can't be a family doctor, except on a very peripheral level. I've loved doing that. But so my wife and I have given up, and our family has given up a lot to go there. But it is an honor to serve the people, and it's just so interesting. We have this continuing resolution that we just passed on Tuesday that the United States Senate now has to deal with this, and seeing the strategy of the House and the Senate and how they work together. Working with President Trump, it's amazing, and the opportunity for us to kind of move the Trump agenda forward and making America great again. There's so much going on, Leah. It just doesn't stop. But it's been fascinating, frankly, a lot of fun. I know I'm not there to recreate and entertain. I'm there to work, and I'm happy to work for the people. We've sponsored several bills, but it's actually been really interesting to be there.
So it was interesting to see the House sort of pull off, I don't know if I'd call it a miracle, but it was close to it. The 217 to 215 vote to get that budget bill through, the continuing resolution, and now it goes over to the Senate. I'm scratching my head because if Senate Democrats, I'm just going to say it bluntly, if Senate Democrats were dumb enough to do a shutdown after you guys successfully pulled that off and left town, I would be shocked. Do you disagree, or do you think this is something Senate Democrats are actually thinking about?
They've got their spokesperson, Chuck Schumer, who looks older and old. He's 5 years aging every time he gets in front of the camera. He just looks really worn out, and I think he's the only one they can get to actually go out and try to defend some of these terrible Democrat policies they're promoting. But yeah, it was a bit miraculous. I mean, when you have people like Chip Roy, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Andy Harris, he's the chair of the Freedom Caucus, combined with the New York Democrat or New York Republicans and so on. We even had, it's a bipartisan continuing resolution, which I hate continuing resolutions. I think they're terrible, but we've been brought into the Trump administration, and the House and the Senate Republicans have been brought into what is a very difficult circumstance. And if we can buy ourselves some time, which is what this CR does, to actually get to regular order budgeting, which myself and many others have messaged to leadership that this is, I'll give you this vote, yes, for the continuing resolution, but I'm not doing this again in September. And if they're going to give us another continuing resolution in September, it's a no. I'm just not going to. And the margin is so narrow that every vote counts, including a humble freshman from Utah, myself. So for them, they have to take account for those of us that are really concerned with our terrible deficit and inappropriate use of continuing resolutions. But here's the other thing for both of you is this continuing resolution, not only is it neutral, but it's $7 billion less. So actually we're spending a little less. It's, I mean, billions of dollars, that's massive, but in this trillions of dollars economic federal government thing that we do, it's not a whole lot of money. But so it's spending less money, but it's more money for women, infants, and children, more money for veterans' health care. And it's a clean continuing resolution. It doesn't have a bunch of Christmas tree wish list ornaments all over it, full of earmarks from every senator and congressman. So I think it's very strategically done, and I'm proud of the House leadership putting that forward. Speaker Johnson's doing a great job trying to navigate very difficult territory so we can give President Trump some wins and help the Republican agenda move forward.
Yeah, no, and I love right here maybe is one of the biggest differences between the Utah State Legislature and the United States Congress, in that I don't think the Congress knows how to balance a budget, Representative Kennedy, right? And you probably do. Yeah, and so how I hear what you're saying. Like, I'll give you this vote, but we got to get back to, what did you call it, regular order budgeting. Man, do you think that's possible? Like, how do you make that happen?
I do think it's possible. In fact, part of the thing I'm an optimist, even though I'm in a pretty pessimistic place, Washington, D.C. now. I am optimistic. This is the United States of America. It's a great place. It was founded on great principles. We have our share of problems, and we have our share of problem makers, but we can do these sort of things. The other thing I'd offer to you and your listeners, when was the last time Republicans did anything big? We have the Democrats routinely moving things like Obamacare, like the Inflation Reduction Act, and so on, that actually move our country in the wrong direction. And for Republicans to unite behind not perfect but fair and pretty good policies, I think it helps us move the agenda forward, and we can do big things like balance the budget, or at least get us in the right direction to regular order budgeting, and hopefully in the next few years more closer to a balanced budget by uniting and being responsible with the taxpayers' dollars.
So, Representative, just in the last 30 seconds we have, tell everyone about the Utah delegation. I've noticed back there that there seems to be quite a bit of unity, which is great, meaning specifically around the House and even the Senate. Is that different than in other states, or have you noticed that all states are like that? Hey, we're all getting along.
I think
and
it is.
Together.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I have outstanding colleagues. I think I'll point to all three of my congressional colleagues and our senators, great people. And as a small team, there's 6 of us. We have to work together. California has 52 congressmen. We have 4. So we better work together, and we do. Actually, Blake Moore, Burgess Owens, Celeste Malloy have been outstanding and very helpful to a freshman coming into a complicated environment. So grateful to work with them.
Well, Congressman Mike Kennedy, thank you for joining us today. We wish you the best of luck on this break and soon back to Washington. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rusty. Thanks, Leah.
In our final segment on today's Inside Sources, let's talk about the efforts to fund school lunches here in Utah. One teacher is taking to TikTok while a state lawmaker works to make lunches free. Stay with us.
You bought a house, or maybe you're building one, but it just isn't feeling like home. Not yet. AMC Building Materials has this undeniable knack for transforming a house into a home, your home. How do they do that? They combine years of exceptional kitchen and bath creations with your ideas. In fact, customer satisfaction is their #1 priority. You know what you want. You know it's not going to be cookie cutter, and this is exactly where AMC shines. AMC delivers exceptional quality, bold-style kitchen and bath designs, along with their exceptional value and a timeline you'll love. Most projects are complete by the elite AMC professional installers in under 10 days. Immerse yourself in the beauty, function, and feel in person at the AMC Building Materials Showroom in Salt Lake City. Get directions and schedule your free estimate at amckitchenslc.org. AMC Building Materials, transforming your house into a home. amckitchenslc.org.
Join KSL News Radio Amanda Dixon this Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Salt Lake NPS Store, 1600 Empire Road in Salt Lake City, and at npsstore.com.
Do you need new windows? Look, all glass pretty much looks the same to the naked eye, but if your windows aren't triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane glass, the cold is seeping in. You need to call Advanced Window Products. They use the highest quality glass and premium vinyl to create state-of-the-art windows and frames, and for 38 years, they build those frames right here in Utah. Custom crafted for Utah's climate. The best windows you can buy at prices 30 and 40% less than what the big companies charge because they cut out the middleman. They're the factory. They even give you a lifetime warranty, and right now as we head into spring, save an extra $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Custom windows that'll give your house a fresh new look and save you money on your heating and air conditioning. Advanced Windows offers 60-month 0% financing, even buy now, pay later, and an extra $2,500 off. Call for a quote, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Over 3/4 of Americans will experience foot pain, and most will just live with that pain every day. But Foot Solutions in Orem is here to change that. Here's Amanda from Provo.
I am an active woman, ex-Division I basketball player at BYU. By trade, I'm a PE teacher. Over the last 2 years is when my feet really started hurting.
And that's when Amanda's life changed with a visit to Foot Solutions in Orem.
My experience at Foot Solutions was so unique to any other experience I've had. Over an hour they spent with me, really going over my specific pain points.
After discovering so many solutions and custom in-house made orthotics, what does Amanda want you to know?
Invest in your health. Don't be cheap to your feet. Living a pain-free, active life again has been worth every cent.
Just search for Foot Solutions in Orem and find out more at footsolutions.com.
I'm Amanda from Provo. I'm 47 years old, and Foot Solutions has given me back a pain-free, active lifestyle.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I've been your co-host today, Rusty Cannon, here with Leah Murray. Leah, we're going to have a little bit of fun on this last segment. It's kind of a nice change of pace from what we've been talking about earlier in the show.
Maybe.
We won't argue on this. I don't think we'll argue at all on this one. This is a cool story. One teacher in Weber County is using TikTok and her smooth dance skills to raise money for school lunches. Katie Jo Christensen dances on her TikTok channel and raises funds to help pay off school lunch debt for her special ed students, as well as other students at her school and around the district. And while she's dancing around, we're all waiting to see if the governor will sign House Bill 100, which would help kids get free lunches at school. So tell us more about this, Leah. What's going on here? I'm going to sound really old when I say this. I don't have TikTok on my phone, so you'll need to loop me in.
I love this. So actually, maybe let's start with listening to Miss Katie on TikTok. Her handle there is Mrs. Cactus Vibes, talking about her effort to fund the school lunches.
And I want to try something new. I want to try and raise some funds for my students' lunches. I have a lot of students school-wide, not just my students, but in our entire school, that are in the negative for their lunches, meaning that they owe money. And for whatever reason, parents are struggling to pay that. I'm not judging, I'm just wanting to make sure that my kids and all the kids in my school are fed.
So basically, what happened? So I love how you've never been on TikTok. Do you ever see?
I've watched some of them. I just don't have it on
because
my phone.
they come out on Instagram Reels 4 days later.
Yeah, they'll put it on some other channel or put it on
right.
X.
Yeah, so basically there are a lot of, I don't know. I actually had a professor friend who would dance during COVID. We were back in school and we were supposed to require the students to wear masks, but we couldn't enforce it, right? So it was this weird, make them wear masks, but you can't kick them out if they don't. So one of my colleagues, he would dance on TikTok. So he would say, if all of you wear your mask to class, I will post a TikTok dance, right? And my whole thing was, dude, no one wants to watch you dance on TikTok, but it was funny, right? And the students kind of liked it, so they would wear masks and bring masks. So what we have here is Miss Katie, and like I said, her handle is Mrs. Cactus Vibes, in her classroom. So like the set, if you will, like the stage is her classroom, and she's dancing around to music and has raised over $11,000 as of the last time I was paying attention to it, to pay off student lunch debt. So basically, she's monetizing her dance skills.
Yeah.
And people, she's going to show up in, I imagine, I want to just tell you, I do have TikTok. And because we're talking about it and my phone is clearly listening, later when I turn on TikTok, she'll be the first thing that shows up because that's how that creepy algorithm works.
They are listening.
They are listening. Yeah. But anyway, so she's going to, dance to raise funds.
That's a great idea. I think it's something different and special. She's in the Weber School District. As you mentioned, she takes the money she earns from the videos and donations, $11,000 as of March, to pay off student lunch debt. Now, when we mean student lunch debt, from my understanding of having kids in school, the lunches will be provided, right? And if it's not paid for, you just accumulate that debt. And there are some students, obviously, that have accumulated debt for those school lunches, and she's looking to pay those off. Now, we also mentioned a bill as well.
Pause real quick. I just want to, because you said earlier we might not argue about this, but maybe we will argue about it. But, I want to share that I have kids in school. I know that you have had, but your kids are all out of?
I have one more left.
Okay,
so
I've got two in school. One's a senior, one's a freshman. Last year, they were not allowed to go to the field day because I had forgotten to pay their fees for cross country. And I just want to tell you, field day was in May, cross country was in September, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I paid that, and why didn't you call me 9 months ago? But when they called all the kids down who didn't pay their fees, my daughter, my very loving Democrat daughter, right? So she was like, this is outrageous, right? All of these kids are being shamed because they're all standing here and they're not allowed to walk over to field day because they haven't paid their fees, and that's their parents not paying. It's not the kids. Like, she was just righteously indignant, and I was so, just loved her in that moment because my son walked down and went, yeah, we'll just pay. He's my little Republican. But she was really indignant. So a little bit what we've got here is a situation, and then I'll let you get into the legislation, and I apologize for interrupting.
No, totally fine.
That I do think we put a lot of burden on children. So the parents are the ones who are making the mistake.
Yeah.
But the children are the ones who pay for it in school. So if their parents can't afford lunch, they're the ones sitting there without a lunch in front of all of their friends.
Yeah.
If they can't afford to pay the fees, or they forgot to pay the fees like I did with the cross-country fees, they're the ones standing in the hallway not walking to the field day.
Yeah.
They get that social shame. Is it right? They're in there with their peers. And there's just got to be a better way of managing that.
Yeah, I think that's some pretty poor execution by the school there. I mean, Utah schools, they've amassed apparently about $2.8 million in school lunch debt, and so the Governor Cox announced before he was going to use some federal funds to start a new program, and then this 2025 session had HB 100, and that would create a program to provide free meals to eligible students and require the State Board of Ed to reimburse the schools. There was some concerns early with the legislation, but I believe the bill did pass and went through to where this for those that qualify, many more students in Utah now will be able to have these lunches paid for.
Yeah, so this is where I think maybe we might argue. Right?
Okay.
So, because I feel like you and I have had conversations in the past about fees
Yeah.
and maybe the role of government. Like one of the concerns of GOP lawmakers was this would increase dependency on government.
Yeah.
But don't you think, Rusty, here we are talking about children
Yeah.
and an elementary school teacher dancing on TikTok. Don't you think it is the case that actually the children should be dependent on government? They are kids. We are all in this state raising these children together. We want them to be able to be successful and thrive. That's got to be good for everyone. So to a certain extent, I'm not sure I understand the argument to not.
Well, I think it would be better to raise kids to teach them to not be dependent on the government, right? And to teach them in a nice way, in a kind-hearted way, how to not be. However, there are those that need the help. This is harking back to our earlier segment where we talked about the Department of Education getting cut in half as far as personnel, and talks of even trying to close down the department. And the point I was trying to make is let's get that money back to states. That's what the president has talked about. That the amount of money it would take to solve this problem in Utah is a literal decimal rounding error in the Department of Education budget in Washington, D.C. I can't remember the number. It was somewhere over $300 billion or some massive amount. That's the annual budget for people that don't teach a single kid. And if you take even part of that money and get it back to states, we could solve this problem. However, to your point, to your question, I would say it's better to raise our children to not depend on the government, to do the best they can, to be self-dependent. However, knowing that there are those that don't have a choice or don't have an alternative. And those need to be provided for. The good thing about that bill, HB 100 in passing, is that it does hopefully get that help to those that truly do need it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point, as someone who teaches American institutions, and I lean into capitalism when I talk about stuff, so I am with you, right?
Yeah.
But I think that Miss Katie's not wrong. This kid's like 8, 9, 10 years old, right? A little bit. What are they going to do? I'm supposed to be independent. I'm not supposed to be dependent on government. So I'm going to go home and tell my mom that right. I mean, like that is a bad position for a child to be in.
Yeah.
So why do you think like it's not one of the first automatic bills? So what did you say earlier? That Governor Cox had a plan to start this program to alleviate those balances. We get the passage of HB 100 that would provide free meals, and the State Board of Ed would reimburse the schools to alleviate those balances. How come it's not one of the ones on the list he's already signed?
Well, I'm not sure is why he hasn't already signed it. I don't think he has.
Right.
He's got a ton of bills to go through and to sign, and I would assume, obviously, he would sign this one without hesitation. I think it gets to the conversation of prioritization of money, whether it's the state government or the federal government. Let's just talk about the state government. This program there could easily be enough money freed up to pay for school lunches for a ton of kids in Utah. The problem is that there's a limited bucket of money that they have to allocate every year. And whether it's kids' lunches or you name your program, education, social services, roads, water, all that stuff, all of it is competing for the attention and the dollars. Could there easily be pared back some of government to then provide for these free lunches? Absolutely. The amount of money that we put, even in a skinny year this year, into new buildings on higher education campuses was, up around $100 million. It's somewhere between $50 and $100 million. That was one-time money and not ongoing. But even in the ongoing funding conversation, yes, there are tons of areas where the government could shrink and provide for things like this that should be a higher priority. But guess what? Getting that moved up to the top of the priority list is hard because every entrenched interest is against it.
Yeah,
so
I got you.
It's hard to do. Well, it's been fun today being with you. Always fun. You and I, thank you for joining us today. Aaron Ryder and Greg Skordas will be here tomorrow to help end your week with more political news, discussion, and analysis. Make sure to tune in tomorrow at 1.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos, and today for Jeff Kaplan, it's mostly cloudy in downtown Salt Lake City and 48 degrees. KSL's top story. Federal workers are struggling to keep up with the rapid changes coming from the government. Right now, IRS workers in Ogden are trying to cope with the chaos of having their entire staff back in the office.